Good evening. Whoops. The first quick subject for those of you who know Howard Goldman. Howard's been living here for 30 years, and you know him from the gym. He was our gym maven. Unfortunately, Howard hasn't been well the last couple of years, and right now he's in hospice care in Florida Medical, room 523. Gloria and I just stopped over there to see him. He's really not with it. He doesn't know what's going on. He's been given morphine, and he's not eating. So it's likely that he's not going to make it through the weekend. But it's been a tough battle for him. I just wanted to share with you the main subject that I wanted to talk about. I had started the last time and opened the discussion, and that is as far as the board membership is concerned. As many of you may know, there is a question as to whether actually the ballots were tampered with. We have the board member that claims that he saw that was so, which really questions the board, some of the board, not the ones that won by a great deal of votes, like Michelle and like Edwin. They're not in question, but it's troublesome. It's troublesome. But to add insult to injury, potential injury, we have a situation where we've been appointing members to the board, and right now we have two members in the board that are appointed, and I hold both in good regard. My friend Terry Persigny looks to do as much as he can around the community. He's really interested in getting things done. He's great. And my friend Doug Myers is our biggest investor in the village, and he pays his bills on time, and he's really attuned to the village and the values of the village. And me being an investor also, I respect his approach to real estate, where I differ a lot with maybe simply homeowners who see things through their glass, which is different than an investor. I'm interested in each unit in this community paying its fair share, and then we will have no problems. Unfortunately, that's not the case. And by myself, I have 4 units. Edwin has 4 units. Doug has more than that, and his mother has. And we're paying our bills, and we're making this place work. But when it comes to being on the board, both of those people have their interests spoken for. Terry with his wife being the president, and Doug with his stepfather being the treasurer. And it really is redundant to have them on the board. First of all, they never ran for the board. So
I ran for the board.
No, I'm not talking about you. You, I said, belong there. I'm just talking about Doug and Terry. Okay, that's all. I know you ran, Ed. I voted for you, and I endorsed you, if you remember. So I would like them to think about what they're doing, because I get a lot of people that write to me, or I had a call last week about the board. You know, the question of how can you put trust in the board if they're packing the board. So it's simple enough to correct, and I don't think they even really want to be on the board. They're there because they were asked and they're capable, but really the board ought to select from amongst the people who ran for the board. All right, I will keep this subject up, if not in person, then in writing, until it's accomplished, because it's just the right thing to do. Thank you for your patience.
Okay, I now call the regular meeting.
I want to speak on good and welfare.
You can sign up.
I wasn't here, all right?
Sure, go ahead. You have one right in front of you.
I'm sorry.
I don't, I'll try to.
Good evening, everyone. I know testing is working. Well, good evening, everyone. It is with a it hurts my heart that I have to make the following statement. I am officially requesting the resignation of our president, Michelle Tassini. If she doesn't resign, I'm going to request that the board remove her as president. I'm not going to go through a whole list of things, but I'm going to go over the main problem. She signed a contract for $446,000 after the board tabled it 2 times. This
Slide
is,
before
I'm talking, please. This is fraud, and tomorrow morning, I will go to the state attorney. That's my first stop, and my second stop is the ombudsman's office, and I will file complaints in both areas. If she wants me to cease and not do that, I don't have a problem. Then I need her to sign a letter of resignation right here and right now. A number of other things that she's done, and I'm not going to go through a major list, is Henry Harvey. She advocated him from the get-go. I was against him from the get-go. At more than one meeting, she said to me, "Stuart, you don't know what you're talking about. Stay out of Henry's way because he's the greatest." Backed up by Scott Samuels, he was the greatest thing to ever hit International Village. Henry Harvey lasted exactly 98 days before he had to be terminated. The other thing I'd like to call to everyone's attention is Michelle appointed one person, Mark Jones, to head sales and leasing. This is totally unacceptable. No one person can have all this power. It has to be 3 because it has to be an odd number. I sent her an email. She sent me back something that she's taking care of it. Meanwhile, he's on there all by himself. Now, I'm going to stop now because anyone that wants more information, I'm going to be writing some stuff if she doesn't resign. But tomorrow morning, I will be at the state attorney's. Anyone that wants to ask me any questions, they can ask it now, or they could see me afterward. I'll answer any questions they want. But the list is a lot longer than I covered.
Thank you, Stuart. Okay, I now call to order the regular meeting of the Board of Directors Thursday, June 17th, 2010. The time is now 12 minutes after 7. Secretary, can you please call the roll?
Michelle Tersigni,
Present.
Doug Myers. Present. Edwin Kaufman.
Present.
Mark Jones, absent. Dick Bondar, absent. Paul Pickus. Scott Samuels, absent. Terry Tersigni.
Present.
Stuart Wolf. We have a quorum to conduct the business of the association.
Okay. I will now accept a motion to approve the minutes of the meeting of May 8th, May 12th, and June 11th.
I move to approve the minutes of those 3 dates.
I second that.
I would like the minutes read before we approve it.
And a motion on the floor.
Okay.
Take the
roll. Take the roll.
A duly noticed regular meeting of the International Village Board of Directors, can everybody hear me? Was held on Tuesday, December 15th, 2009. The meeting was called to order by the president at 7:06 p.m. Roll call was taken. 7 members of the board were present as follows. Got the wrong began the same way. Duly noticed special meeting of the International Board of Directors was held on Friday, June 11th, 2010, and the meeting was called to order at 6:35 p.m. Roll call was taken. 6 members of the board were present as follows. Michelle Tersigni, Doug Myers, Mark Jones, Edwin Kaufman, Stuart Wolf, and Terry Tersigni, establishing the necessary quorum for conducting the business of the Condo Association. The following members were duly nominated to serve as officers of the association and were elected by acclamation to the following offices. Michelle Tersigni, President, Doug Myers, Vice President, Edwin Kaufman, Treasurer, Mark Jones, Assistant Treasurer, Francis Mesereau, Secretary. Motion was made by Edwin Kaufman, seconded by Terry Tersigni, that the association remain self-managed pending the hiring of a new property manager, Mr. Harvey having left our employ. The motion was passed unanimously by the directors present. There being no further business, upon motion by Stuart Wolf, seconded by Terry Tersigni, and passed unanimously by the directors present, the meeting was adjourned at 6:45 p.m. Respectfully submitted, Francis Mesereau, Secretary.
Correct. You have Henry Harvey, you have to put that he's terminated, because we can end up with a court case. What were your words again? I'm sorry.
Mr. Harvey having left our employ.
No, he didn't leave our employee, he was terminated. You gotta put the words terminated in his name.
Is Brendan acceptable to the rest of the board?
That's fine with me.
No problem.
No problem.
We will now read Mr. Henry Harvey having been terminated.
His employment having been terminated. We didn't terminate him.
Employment having been terminated.
Sometimes it was hard to tell somebody.
We need a motion, please, Madam President.
Now, can we have a motion to please approve the minutes?
I make a motion that we approve the minutes as Francis read them corrected.
Second.
Any objections? Motion passed.
Who was the second, I'm sorry?
Second.
Thank you.
Okay. Old business. Under old business, we have the electric meters on the cabanas, which I wanted to open for discussion. We have the pool furniture and the termination of, actually, there was a mistake. It wasn't supposed to say all state, it was supposed to say all service contract. Okay, so I wanted to have discussion about the electric meters on the cabanas by the board. The previous board had approved the cabanas to have the electric meters put onto them. The work has not been completed, but they have been paid in full.
What's the discussion?
We've never completed the work.
What do you,
I didn't know. This was before me.
Have they refused to continue to work?
No.
So why don't, let them just continue to work?
Michelle, the agenda, as I saw it, you didn't do any of the reports. These old business and new
I'm so
business
sorry.
was
I'm
after
so
that.
sorry.
Okay?
Well, let's finish this up.
Okay. Finish this up. All right, let's just finish this up. Okay, then there's no discussion. All right,
No, I mean, I don't understand. If they're not refusing to complete the job and we pay them, what is the problem?
don't they just need to be activated? But you-
I don't know if I'm the right person to talk about this, but I'll give you the
How much I can rip off?
I said I might not be the right person to discuss this because I own a cabana, but I'll give you the facts. Several people, including myself, who bought cabanas 10, 15, 20 years ago, bought the cabana knowing that it's very difficult to get a mortgage on the cabana, so there's pros and cons. There's excess noise from the clubhouse, but the electric was included, and that was part of the deal. Now, it's been that way for 30 years. Now, for a board to come on and spend $47,000, and to get back that money, it would take over 20 years. So in my estimation, it was an extremely poor investment by the village, not to mention that several of the cabana owners won't allow them to put meters in there. They think they want to go to court, myself being one of them. I didn't buy it under those circumstances, 12, 13 years ago, and several of the people feel the same way. They want to reach a compromise where they pay X amount, or they're willing to compromise, at least the few cabana owners that I spoke to avoid a court scene, to pay X amount of money, maybe $35 or $50 a month for electric, which would offset the vast majority of what we pay anyway. I had also asked Mr. Samuels, before they did the work on the unit, that I thought it was a huge mistake, given the circumstances and the problems that we'd have in the future, that if we could, since we gave them a deposit, keep the contract so the electrical company gets the money, but we use it as a credit over the course of the next few years, instead of putting in work that is unnecessary and we might result in a long, drawn-out court battle. He had said he called them, but he didn't, because I had spoken to them at that time. So that's that. And they completed the work. So what we're at now is, as I said, a lot of the cabana owners don't want to have the meters come in. It might be a lengthy court battle. If they're willing to make a compromise of paying $50 a month and leave it at that, that's pretty much where we're at now. We'd have to discuss that with them. I know, like I said, I would be agreeable to that, but to have a meter in the unit, it doesn't sit well with a lot of the people, and it was handled wrong, in my opinion, by the last board. Yes.
Not being on the board, I have not been privy to all these, this is the first time I'm hearing about this. I'd like to ask some clarifying questions. It sounds like somebody said that the previous board approved spending $47,000 to install meters on the cabanas.
Correct.
Okay. How much of that money has been actually transferred to whoever we signed the contract with?
I think all of it.
All of it. The work is
It
done.
was a $20,000 deposit, and when I found out there was a $20,000 deposit, and you think it out on paper, the amount of people who use the cabana.
The amount of people who use the cabana, that
Doug,
would.
Doug, I just want to get some basic facts. I don't want explanations at this point, please. It sounds like you're the only person who knows some of these details. Is anybody else on the board aware that the previous board spent $47,000?
We have 3 board members.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm
I
aware.
voted against it.
Okay, so we have other board members who are aware now, and money was transferred from the association to whom to do the job?
The electrical company.
FP&L.
No,
The contract.
This is a
Contract.
private electrical
Private
contractor.
So an electrical contractor has been paid $47,000,
That's correct.
and none of the work has been done.
No. All the work.
It's
just not been
activated.
It just hasn't been activated, and they have not put the meters, which they have, in the individual units. Partly because some of them won't let them in, myself included.
Okay.
Won't let them into the unit.
So the preliminary work has been, the construction has been completed.
Uh-huh.
It's just the final stage, the hook up, the switch.
That's right.
To turn it up, that's not been done. Is
That's
that
correct.
accurate?
Correct.
Okay, and what's holding it up is the threat from some of the cabana owners to fight this.
Well, if you can't put it in all of them, you can't put it in 2 or 3. Like several of them are empty. We'd have to get their permission to go in.
Okay, I'm gonna ask the other board members to respond instead of you. You have a very specific, so I'm gonna ask the other board members. Okay. From what the rest of you know about this, do we have the power, for anybody who doesn't object, can we go in and put a meter, turn it on, and start charging?
My
The
opinion,
association
yes.
has the right to access.
My opinion, yes.
Paul, do you believe we have that ability? Is that right?
I'd have to check with the attorney. I'm not.
But I'm not giving you legal, I'm giving you my opinion.
I'm asking your opinion. Ed?
I can't take an opinion on this because it's Doug.
Okay. Well, no, I'm using a human being. Not Doug, you didn't. I said anybody who doesn't object, do we have the right to go in there and turn it on?
I just don't know.
Do you have
My
an opinion?
concern are docs, that maybe this needs to go to the people to approve it.
No.
As an
No,
opinion, I
okay,
wasn't sure.
let me give you what I think I know about this, going back when they originally set up the cabanas, it was just like it is now. It was too cumbersome a job to get them individual meters. So whoever was there at the time said, to hell with it, and they're not paying. Now it's 30 years later, and they're not paying. So what Doug is saying is, they're not gonna allow them. And what Stuart is saying is, I don't wanna pay my electric bill, why should they get away with not paying their electric bill? They got away with it for 30 years.
I understand the
That's my
argument.
point.
I understand some of
And
the
they have
argument.
no legal right to stop us, in my opinion.
Okay,
I'm gonna
that's
say
the only
something.
question, yeah.
I was of the opinion that those units were bought with the understanding at the time that they weren't paying electric.
Right.
And that affected the sale price,
I understand.
all right? And I didn't think that if we had, and I don't feel that we had the right to put the meters in there.
Okay,
Quite frankly.
again, my
That
question
is
was,
an incorrect statement, to the best of my knowledge. And the
all
only
all
one
my
who told
question
me-
was, is what is your each opinion of do we have the right to go in and turn on a meter from a person who says, okay, do it?
I can answer that. Not
Wait a minute, who says, okay, do it? Obviously, yes, it's the one that says no is the issue.
Okay, so now we're not doing any, as I said, we're not doing any of them pending some kind
Well,
of.
you have to do all or none. You can't do part.
Well, one person says, okay, put a
That's
meter.
your opinion, okay.
What if one
That's your
person
opinion.
says, come in and put the meter in?
So at this point, the board is not doing anything about pursuing this thing. We spent the
Correct.
$47,000, and now we're stuck with our hands in our pockets.
That's why I put it on the agenda as old business, because this needs to get settled one way or another.
Okay, I'd like to hear what the alternatives are, thank you.
Well, if I have a suggestion. That won't cost us any money. Let's have a committee of one or two go to the ombudsman, lay out what he says, and see, get an opinion from him, which won't cost us any money, rather than as soon as you say hello to a lawyer, bing, you're on the clock, it could cost us God knows how much, and then he wants to see all the paperwork, and he wants to read the docs, and that could cost us.
They can't give you a legal opinion.
Nobody can tell you, listen, if I go to the ombudsman, they don't tell you, you can't, it won't hold up in court, but they'll tell you what your grounds are, and it won't cost you a nickel.
We have the good fortune of having Mrs. Mesereau at the table there. I believe she was president at the time that it was approved. What was the thinking? I mean, why would $47,000 be paid without knowing that that it could be implemented? I don't understand why we're in this position where the implementation ability comes after the expense is paid. What's the
But we followed
thinking?
the advice of our management at the time, who said that it was a proper step to take.
Who is that? Is that Gil Martinez? Or is-
KW, management.
KW. KW said that it was okay to do. So maybe KW would want to pay the money that was put forth.
Maybe they could be
You know,
sued.
whoever gave that approval, you know, to the board to spend it before you knew you could implement it, should be in trouble.
Jerry, Michael Schenkel got an idea, and it might be a good idea, to have every unit to conserve water put in that flusher meter thing that uses less water.
Right.
But you have to agree to it. If they don't let us into the unit, we can't do it. We can't arbitrarily go in.
Well, I
Whether it be-
understand what you
It's the
said.
same thing.
I understand what you said. I'm talking about the bigger picture.
Yeah, I
The
understand.
actual
I think
commitment,
KW
the commitment
is a
was
company-
made
Yeah.
on somebody's advice.
That's right.
That person or that organization's advice was improper.
Right. Think about this. Think about this.
They're not gone.
KW.
Just because they
Jerry,
left us, they're not
Jerry,
gone.
KW gave advice to spend $47,000 of our money.
Right.
That not only A, can be contested in court and be a long battle.
Right.
But if they thought it out logically, with the amount of 8 cabanas, with the amount that are empty, it would take over 20 years to return, to get that money back.
Oh, it would take a year.
20 years.
All right, look, that's a different, you're changing the subject, Doug. Doug, you're changing the subject. I'm just talking about the responsibility for the decision. That's all. Breaking it down, whether it's a year or 20 years. Personally, I think, personally,